Have you ever wondered why BTS's vocals feel different? Why their voices don't just sound good, but feel like they hit something deep inside your chest? Tonight we're diving into a journey that goes far beyond high notes and pretty tones. This is about 7 voices shaped by childhood stories, late-night training rooms, broken confidence, hidden potential, and the kind of emotion that only comes from living through something real. Before we go into the rankings, imagine this like a late-night documentary. The lights dim, the music fades in, and you're suddenly pulled into the mystery of what makes a voice truly great. Because every BTS member has a vocal color born from a completely different world, one grew from rap but hides unexpected vocal power, another is known as the group's golden voice but carries a history most people overlook, while others built their voices not from talent alone but from relentless practice and emotional honesty. And the biggest twist? The number 1 spot might be the last person you expect. So before we reveal anything, ask yourself, whose voice first made you stop and replay a song? Whose tone stayed with you long after the music ended? And whose singing secretly healed you on days you didn't even realize you needed it? Tonight isn't just a list, it's a journey through 7 lives, 7 stories, and 7 voices that changed an entire generation. And when we finally reach number 1, don't be surprised if it completely flips everything you thought you knew about BTS vocals. If you're ready, let's begin. Number 7, Jewel's Hope, the hidden warmth you never realized he had. Many people hear the name J-Hope and immediately think of rap, dance, energy, and spotlight-splitting charisma. But rare fans stop to notice the quiet evolution of his vocals. An evolution that didn't happen because he was born with a naturally powerful voice, but because he refused to let his limitations define him. From the earliest days of BTS's trainee era, Hoseok knew he wasn't coming in as a singer. He came from the world of street dance, where rhythm is physical, not melodic. But instead of avoiding vocals, he learned to embrace the challenge like a craftsman shaping his own instrument from scratch. Listen to his early recordings and you'll hear a softer, lighter texture, almost fragile in certain notes, but filled with intention. Over time, that softness became his greatest strength. J-Hope built a tone that doesn't try to overpower or shock, it comforts. It warms, it fills the silent spaces in a song where emotion needs to shimmer without screaming. What makes his vocals so fascinating is the way they carry sunlight even in the darkest songs. He doesn't belt, he glows. He doesn't force emotion, he breathes it into the melody. And behind that warmth lies a story of countless nights where he worked on pitch, breath control, and tone stability moments fans never saw, because he wasn't trying to prove he was a main vocalist. He was trying to prove to himself that music deserved every part of him, not just the dance floor version. Tracks like Blue Side, Hope World, Daydream, and Chicken Noodle Soup reveal how carefully he has crafted a voice that blends vulnerability with confidence. And when he harmonizes with the other members, especially in emotional tracks like Spring Day or Magic Shop, you can hear how essential his presence is. His voice becomes the gentle brushstroke that completes the painting, subtle but unmistakable. J-Hope's vocal journey is living proof that greatness isn't just about how high you can sing or how technically impressive you sound. Sometimes greatness lies in the sincerity of the quiet moments, in the colors you add rather than the spotlight you take. And that's why he sits at number 7, because this list isn't about who sings the loudest or the highest. It's about the story behind each voice. And J-Hope's story is made of perseverance, warmth, and a kind of emotional clarity only he can deliver. Fans often say that J-Hope's voice feels like a smile, but if you listen closely, really closely, you'll notice it's more than that. It's a reminder that effort transforms everything, that even someone who never planned to be a singer can create a vocal identity the world can instantly recognize. And that is a kind of magic that deserves to be celebrated. Number 6. Jimin, the fragile power that cuts straight into your soul. From the very first time you hear Jimin sing, there's this strange, indescribable feeling, like someone just pressed pause on the world for a moment and whispered directly into your heart. His voice isn't the heavy, booming type. It isn't the clean, textbook-perfect tone you'd hear in classical training either. Jimin's voice is something else entirely. An emotional blade wrapped in silk. A sound that feels soft at first, until it suddenly slices right into a place you didn't expect. But what makes Jimin's vocals sit at number 6 isn't lack of talent, it's the extraordinary journey behind the voice. A journey so raw and human that it shapes everything we hear today. Back in his trainee days, Jimin wasn't the confident, ethereal vocalist fans adore now. He struggled hard. He questioned himself. He pushed his limits to painful extremes. Coming from a contemporary dance background, he understood expression. But transitioning that expression into singing was like learning to breathe a new kind of air. Teachers told him his tone was too breathy, his control too shaky, his vibrato too unstable. But Jimin didn't back away. He became the type of trainee who stayed in the practice room even after everyone else was too tired to continue. He practiced high notes until his voice cracked. He practiced low notes until his chest felt tight. He repeated one line for hours just to understand where the emotion should sit. And slowly, painfully slowly, his voice began to transform. What makes Jimin's tone so special now is the emotional honesty embedded in every note. He doesn't just sing, he confesses. He doesn't perform, he exposes something delicate, something private. Songs like Lie, Serendipity, and With You show how he can glide between airy falsettos and trembling emotional belts that feel like they're carrying the weight of memories he's never told anyone about. And when he sings live, there's this intensity where you can see him pour every muscle, every breath, every thread of his heart into the moment. It's almost overwhelming, like watching someone stand barefoot on the edge of a cliff, beautiful, dangerous, and impossible to look away from. Jimin's voice has a purity that feels almost childlike, but also a darkness underneath, like he has gone through storms he doesn't talk about. That duality is what creates the addictive contrast, softness wrapped around sadness, hope wrapped around trembling emotion. And although people sometimes think of his tone as thin, the truth is that his voice carries a unique resonance most singers never master, the ability to make a single line echo in your mind long after the song ends. But perhaps the most remarkable part of Jimin's vocal identity is how aware he is of his weaknesses. He never runs from them, he confronts them. Every comeback, his pitch gets steadier. Every performance, his vibrato grows richer. Every recording, he finds a new texture, a new emotional layer, a new version of himself. And that determination is what makes his position in this ranking meaningful. Not as a critique, but as a reminder of how far he has come and how far he continues to rise. Jimin might be number 6 tonight, but that number does not measure his worth. It measures the extraordinary path behind his voice, the sweat, the tears, the self-doubt, the passion, and how he turned all of that into a sound that millions of people rely on to feel understood. Because at the end of the day, Jimin's voice isn't about perfection, it's about connection. And in a world full of noise, he is one of the rare voices that can quiet everything inside you with just a single trembling note. Number 5. Jin, the silver voice that shines when the world grows dark. When you talk about voices that feel like they're wrapped in moonlight, voices that seem to rise gently above the noise of the world and settle right into your chest, you're talking about Jin. What makes him land at number 5 isn't because he lacks power, far from it. Jin has one of the most distinct, shimmering vocal timbres in BTS, a voice shaped not by flashy technique alone, but by resilience, vulnerability, and a surprising depth that only grows the more you listen to him. But his journey into becoming Jin the vocalist wasn't something handed to him. In fact, when he first joined Big Hit, he wasn't even aiming to be a singer. Acting was his world, and music was a territory both exciting and intimidating. He had no formal vocal training, no polished technique, and no guarantee that he could keep up with trainees who had been singing since childhood. But Jin did something that defines his voice to this day. He learned. And he learned with the kind of quiet intensity that people often overlook because he doesn't brag, he doesn't dramatize, he just works. Slowly, steadily, consistently. In those early days, vocal coaches challenged him harshly. His range wasn't stable, his breath support wavered, and his confidence slipped easily. But Jin didn't allow frustration to swallow him. He became the type of student who recorded his own practices, replayed them, analyzed every note, and came back the next day ready to push again. His voice over the years began to take shape into something unmistakably his, a clear, ringing tone that's both comforting and haunting. There's a reason fans describe Jin's voice as astral. It has a floating quality, like it's made of silver threads woven through the melody. You hear it especially in songs like Epiphany, Moon, and Awake, where his high notes don't just soar, they shimmer, warm, and expand like light reflecting on water. And what makes Jin extraordinary is his ability to deliver emotion without forcing it. He never oversins, he never tries to overpower. Instead, he lets the song breathe through him. In emotional tracks, you can sense a kind of gentle ache in his voice, like he's singing from a place of quiet introspection rather than dramatic heartbreak. It's the kind of emotion that sneaks up on you, subtle but unforgettable. But Jin isn't just about softness. Over the years, he has developed one of the most stable belts in the group. His upper register carries surprising strength, a kind of resonant brightness that cuts through even the densest instrumental layers. And yet, despite this strength, Jin is often the most humble about his abilities. He jokes about his skills, plays down his talent, and rarely steps into the spotlight to claim credit. But the world sees it anyway. Fans see how he anchors harmonies, how he adds clarity to choruses, how he gives BTS songs that clean emotional line that holds everything together like the spine of a story. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about Jin's voice is how deeply it reflects his personality. There's sincerity in every note, a kind of emotional transparency that says, "I'm here with you, I'm singing for you." And I mean every word. It's no surprise that during live performances, the audience often goes silent when Jin sings not out of shock, but out of reverence. His voice has that rare ability to calm crowds, to make thousands of people feel like they're standing in a quiet room listening to something intimate and precious. Jin at number 5 isn't a limitation, it's acknowledgement of a voice that grew from nothing into something radiant. A voice that continues to evolve, surprise, and inspire. A voice that shines brightest when the world feels heavy. And in a ranking filled with powerhouses, Jin remains the member whose voice feels the most like a gentle hand on your shoulder, steady, warm, and quietly unforgettable. Number 4. RM, the unexpected vocal color that grew from pure determination. When people think of RM, they think of the poet, the leader, the rapper who can bend language into emotion with nothing but breath and rhythm. But what many still underestimate even after a decade of music is how far his vocal ability has come and how deeply his tone has shaped the emotional identity of BTS. RM landing at number 4 might surprise some, but once you understand the evolution behind his voice, it suddenly makes complete sense. RM didn't start as a vocalist. In fact, during the trainee days, singing was something he avoided not because he didn't want to try, but because he felt his voice didn't fit what he imagined a vocalist should sound like. His natural tone was deep, husky, slightly rough around the edges. He didn't have the crystal clarity of Jin, the delicate sweetness of Jimin, or the effortless power of Jungkook. What he did have was something no other trainee had, a voice filled with life experience far beyond his age. A voice that carried weight and vulnerability at the same time. But RM didn't know how to use it yet, so he did what he always does. He studied. He listened, analyzed, experimented. He broke down the anatomy of his own tone and rebuilt it piece by piece. Most idols focus on technique first, emotion later. RM did the opposite. He focused on honesty first, letting his natural vocal color shine even when it felt imperfect. Over time, that imperfection became his signature. When RM sings now, there's a rawness in his tone that's almost cinematic. It feels like you're listening to someone think out loud, confess something quietly, or open a diary they never planned to show anyone. Songs like Everything Owes, Tokyo, Wildflower, Yun, and Still Life prove how soulful his voice actually is, how it carries a gentle ache beneath the surface, like he's always singing from the memory of something lost, or the hope of something still out of reach. And although his register is naturally low, RM has learned how to shape that depth into warmth. His low notes feel like winter sunlight, soft, muted, but comforting in a way you notice only when it's gone. His mid-range, once shaky, now shows surprising stability and control. And when he goes slightly higher, there's a thin, emotional break in his voice that feels intentional, artistic, and painfully beautiful. RM's vocal growth is one of the most astonishing arcs in BTS because it wasn't born from natural ease. It was built from grit, from curiosity, from discipline, from long years of pushing past insecurity. And you can hear that journey in every performance. Watch him sing live, really watch him, and you'll notice he doesn't try to present himself as a vocalist. He just sings the truth as it is, and that authenticity becomes the strongest instrument in the room. His harmonies add richness to the group's soundscape, grounding the brighter voices with emotional depth. His choruses on tracks like 4 O'Clock or I Need You shimmer with nostalgia. His soft singing in tracks like Don't or Soul feels like a conversation you were never meant to overhear but can't turn away from. RM's voice isn't perfect in the traditional technical sense, but that's exactly why it's unforgettable. Because sometimes, the most beautiful voices aren't the ones hitting the highest notes. They're the ones telling the deepest stories. And RM's voice is a story one written through years of self-doubt, quiet progress, courageous experimentation, and the constant desire to express emotions that words alone can't hold. That's why he takes number 4 tonight. Not because he's the strongest vocalist in terms of traditional technique, but because his voice carries something more human, more real, more irreplaceable. It carries truth, and truth, when sung with a voice like his, becomes its own kind of music. Number 3, Jungkook, the golden main vocal who turns every note into pure emotion. When you hear the name Jungkook, you probably already think of perfection, stability, control, range, tone, technique, all wrapped into one person who somehow makes the hardest things look effortless. But what puts him at number 3 tonight isn't just his polished skill. It's the story behind how that skill was built, the emotional weight he carries in his voice, and the way his singing has become the heartbeat of countless BTS masterpieces. Jungkook didn't become the golden maknae overnight. He entered Big Hit as a shy kid who didn't even know how powerful he could be. In fact, one of the biggest reasons he trained so relentlessly was because he saw other members older, more experienced, more emotionally grounded, and he wanted to catch up. Jungkook wasn't trying to be the best vocalist, he was trying not to be a burden. That fear shaped everything he became. During trainee days, the company realized quickly that Jungkook wasn't just talented, he was a sponge. He absorbed technique like oxygen, breath support, vocal placement, control, agility, belting, falsetto, runs. He learned them not just quickly, but deeply, turning each skill into muscle memory. But technique alone doesn't create the kind of emotional punch Jungkook is known for. What makes his voice so unforgettable is the honesty behind it. He sings like someone who feels everything intensely, but doesn't always know how to say it out loud, so the emotion spills into the melody instead. Listen to Euphoria, and you'll hear the sound of freedom. Listen to My You, and you'll hear pure love. Listen to Still With You, and you'll hear loneliness wrapped in warmth, like a quiet confession whispered in the middle of the night. His voice shifts depending on what the song needs. Smooth and bright in pop tracks, raw and husky in emotional ballads, powerful and sharp during live high notes, feather light during falsettos. He's a chameleon, not because he wants to impress, but because he understands music on a level deeper than most artists ever reach. In BTS's hardest choreographies, when everyone else is struggling to balance movement and breath, Jungkook somehow manages to sing live with clarity strong enough to cut through the crowd noise. And he doesn't just sing the melody, he owns it. He bends notes, adds emotional cracks, shapes vowels, places resonance, all subconsciously, like someone who was born to communicate through sound. But maybe the most human part of Jungkook's vocal journey is how he battles his own perfectionism. He's hard on himself, too hard sometimes. He re-records parts he doesn't like. He questions whether his voice sounded good enough, even when fans are crying over how beautiful it was. You can hear this vulnerability in his voice, moments where he lets a little tremble through. Moments where he pushes himself past his comfort zone to reach a note he knows will hit the audience right in the chest. What sets Jungkook apart isn't just that he's good, it's that he cares. He cares about how a line feels, how a word lands, how a breath shapes the emotional impact. He sings like someone who wants to give the world comfort, even when he's the one who needs it. His voice carries maturity far beyond his age, a kind of youthful brightness mixed with a deep emotional weight he rarely verbalizes. And even though he stands here at number 3, make no mistake, Jungkook is the backbone of BTS's vocal identity. He's the member whose voice has introduced millions of fans to BTS, the member whose tone instantly signals, "This is BTS," and the member who turns every live performance into an experience, not just a song. Number 3 isn't a limitation, it's recognition. Recognition of a voice so powerful, so adaptable, so emotionally charged, that it sets the standard for what an idol vocalist can be. Jungkook is the voice that stays with you long after the music stops. The voice that grows as he grows. The voice that turns simple melodies into memories. And the journey isn't over. If anything, he's only getting started. Number 2, Taehyung, the velvet baritone that feels like a movie for your ears. If Jungkook is the voice that lifts you into the sky, Taehyung is the voice that pulls you into another universe entirely. His tone deep, rich, velvety, effortlessly charismatic is one of the rarest vocal colors, not just in K-pop, but in modern pop music as a whole. When Taehyung sings, it doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like a scene, a moment, a memory you didn't know you had suddenly unfolding in slow motion. That's why he owns the number 2 spot. Because his voice doesn't just sound good, it creates worlds. What makes Taehyung's voice iconic is that he was never trained to sound like anyone else. While most idols grow up mimicking Western vocalists or learning clean, bright Korean pop technique, Taehyung came into Big Hit with something raw and completely unpolished. His vocal coaches said he had a tone you can't buy, a tone you can't teach, a tone you either have or you don't. Even in trainee recordings, his low notes carried a weight far older than he was husky, warm, smoky, like a jazz singer born decades too late. But Taehyung didn't rely on that natural color alone. He sharpened it, refined it, learned control, breath discipline, emotional placement. He worked to build stability around his unique baritone so he could use it not just as a cool feature, but as a full instrument capable of expressing everything from heartbreak to comfort to pure longing. Listen to songs like Singularity, and you can feel the atmosphere changing the second he starts. The room gets quieter, the air gets heavier, the lights feel colder. It's like his voice casts a spell, pulling you into a dreamscape where neon reflections, loneliness, desire, and mystery blend into a single breath. His vibrato is lush without being overdone. His articulation is delicate, almost intimate. His lower register is smooth enough to melt into jazz, R&B, soul, or even cinematic OST-style ballads. And when he moves into his mid-range, warm, expressive, slightly grainy, it feels like someone is narrating your emotions back to you. But perhaps the most incredible thing about Taehyung is how emotional honesty pours out of him even when he's barely trying. He doesn't push his voice. He doesn't overreach for power. He simply lets the emotion sit in the note, allowing every word to linger just long enough to make the listener feel something they didn't expect. In Stigma, his voice breaks in places not from weakness, but from intention. In Christmas Tree, he sings like he's watching someone walk away in slow motion. In Sweet Night, he sounds like a man whispering a last confession into the quiet. And in group songs like Spring Day, Butter, Life Goes On, or Blue and Gray, he adds the exact emotional color the track needs, sometimes grounding, sometimes haunting, sometimes warm enough to bring tears to your eyes without you realizing why. Taehyung's voice is not the loudest in BTS. It's not the highest, but it's the most cinematic, the most atmospheric, the most transportive, and that is why he stands at number 2. Because voices like his are rare, so rare that when you hear them, you never forget. His tone alone can redefine the energy of an entire track. His delivery can turn a simple melody into a story. His presence can transform a song into an experience. Taehyung doesn't just sing, he paints. With air, with breath, with emotion. And every time his voice appears, even for one line, the whole world feels like it slows down just to listen. In a list full of extraordinary singers, Taehyung stands as the member whose voice feels the most like a memory. Soft, deep, haunting, and impossible to erase. And that's why number 2 belongs to him. Top list has shown BTS Suga, the quiet strength that shocked the entire industry. Have you ever wondered why, in a world that celebrates loud power, flashy muscles, and headline-stealing gym routines, one of the most talked about transformations in BTS quietly belongs to the member who rarely shows off? Why does Suga Yes, the calm, soft-spoken, quietly intense producer of BTS, end up becoming the unexpected symbol of resilience and physical discipline? Fans used to think Suga was the non-athletic one, the member who preferred studios over stadiums. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding, one that even trainers, dancers, and military instructors later admitted they didn't see coming. Because Suga's strength wasn't built out of vanity, it was built out of survival. It started years ago, when pain became part of his daily life. Shoulder injuries, tight schedules, sleepless nights. He kept producing, kept writing, kept carrying the emotional weight of BTS's sound. Most people would shrink under pressure like that. But Suga? He rebuilt himself slowly, silently, without telling anyone until the results were undeniable. What surprised everyone wasn't just the definition in his arms or the sculpted line of his back, it was the way he moved. Suddenly, the man who once avoided intense choreography could power through full stages with a stability his trainers described as shockingly controlled. During rehearsals, staff members shared that Suga didn't grunt or show off or talk about gains, he simply finished every set, with the focus of someone who refused to lose a battle with his own limits. even during concerts, when the lights hit his silhouette, fans began noticing it. The subtle outline of muscle, the undeniable strength beneath the quiet presence. And when he entered the military, that's when everything became clear. Instructors didn't explain details, but rumors spread through the fanbase that Suga's endurance tests were consistently above average, that his discipline surprised soldiers who didn't know he was an artist, that even with an old injury, he pushed past standards many recruits struggled with. Fans started saying, his muscles aren't loud, but they're real. He doesn't need to flex to dominate the list. He trained because he had to heal, not because he wanted praise. It's ironic, while the world debates who has the biggest chest or the most explosive athleticism, the member who takes the Hashon spot for quiet strength is the man who rarely shows skin, rarely brags, rarely even admits his progress. And maybe that's exactly why he deserves it. Because transformation isn't always about size. Sometimes it's about grit. Sometimes it's about enduring what others can't. Sometimes it's about rebuilding a body that once betrayed you and turning it into an instrument of power. Suga didn't win this top list because he's the most muscular. He won because he represents something bigger. The strength you earn quietly is the strength no one can take from you.